Hello, welcome to Free Will, Science, and Religion. I'm Chandler Klebs, and today I'm here with Anthony Bishop, Jamie Soden, and George Ortega, and we're going to talk about privacy, how there may be causes or reasons why people need to maintain their privacy and keep things secret. And if you analyze the reasons why they might need to keep things secret or have something forgotten, something they're embarrassed or ashamed they've done in the past, well, then you start understanding human behavior and why people don't have a free will, and how you can use this as an example because what there's if you I mean, if people had a free will, why would they be so concerned about privacy? You have to wonder. But there are forces that threaten to punish them if they say or do certain things. So I think it can be tied into the free will belief quite nicely. So let's see. Jamie, did you have something to say about this? Because you suggested the topic originally.
Um, yeah, because in the past, some people have done some embarrassing things, but they don't want other people to know about. And if something goes viral on the web, um, say like a video of a person streaking in a public place or whatnot, then they might get embarrassed about that and they might want that removed from the net. I mean, I believe that was what the right to be forgotten thing was supposed to, help out with.
Well, yeah,
So
I know of a good example, Jamie, because there will be like these teenage girls who they take a naked video of themselves with their cell phone, and then
precisely, yeah.
they send it to their boyfriend, and then he sends it to all his friends, and they send it to all their friends. Before you know it, there's a million people who have a video of this naked teenage girl because teenagers do stupid things. Um,
Of course. Yeah.
and so then she's all ashamed and embarrassed because she now everybody sees her naked, and and I don't know because this is yeah, I think the videos in this case should be deleted too, obviously, because that person doesn't have see, seeing them do something really special lives and have people permanently hold that against them. But
Exactly, because I don't believe things like this should be held against people for eternity. You know what I mean? This is just not fair on them.
well, yeah, because I've done a lot of stupid things in my past that I don't want held against me. Yeah, it's kind of like we did another podcast about regrets. People regretted, and what is that noise? I hear a really strange noise.
Yeah, it sounds like
God.
someone
Oh,
eating a
sorry about
sweet
that,
wrapper.
guys. Sorry about that. I had no idea it was that loud. Sorry.
Yeah, well, it sounded like a candy wrapper being opened or something.
Yeah, come on, share them out. Come on, stop being greedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because we did a podcast about regrets and things we regretted and things that no we know now we would have done differently, and so that's why it's kind of not right to take the way I used to blame chairs and other furniture when I would trip over them, then I would punish them and throw them and get I used to do some really stupid things, and and so yeah, I don't want people now to discount what I'm saying
Mm,
just because I was an insane child back then,
yeah.
I mean, it can be very bad as well. I've noticed, I was reading a post a while ago, but there was this young girl. I think she was from another country, and her boyfriend at school took a picture of her, and it started going round. And like around to her friends and her family and all this kind of stuff. And he was blackmailing this girl, his girlfriend, blackmailing her to the point where she actually killed herself and took her own life because of it. And I think, to be honest, at that point, you got to think to yourself, where does it stop? This kind of
That's why.
atrocity. That
That's why in our country we had a law against revenge porn, because what revenge porn is, someone you know, takes a new picture of someone, then makes it go viral.
yeah,
Yeah. And another thing that's important to realize is that people, if they believe in free will, then they blame themselves and feel so guilty over their mistakes in the past that they'll end up killing themselves. And that's just an example of how harmful the whole free will belief, guilt, and shame can be. Um,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, it's still a problem, and there's got to be, I hope there's a way of educating people to not do so many stupid things, but they've got to be able to forgive themselves, realize that they don't have a free will, and they did some crazy stuff in the past.
But the thing is, they do these crazy things, but without not knowing they haven't got a will to actually use and stuff. Their will, they think they've got a will because they're saying stuff like this. But eventually, you find out. Well, to be honest, because we've got no will, a free will and stuff. Well, why are you doing that in the first place? That wasn't you who did that. Um, sending pictures of yourself naked on the web or something.
Yeah, and think about it. What is the cause of that? What is the cause of somebody sending naked pictures to people? What's up with that?
Maybe he
Yeah.
thought they were funny at the time and stuff, and they
Yeah.
probably just took it as a funny thought or something, just to
Yeah.
upload something
No,
stupid on
Chandler,
it.
Chandler, that's a good point because, like, in terms of, let's say, somebody sends puts a photo like that on the internet, there's got to be a motive behind it that they want to, in some way, harm the person that the photo's of, right? And so then if you look for the reason for that, you'll probably find that that person is blaming the person for something. That person, who has the photo, did something to this person that upset them or something. And a lot of times it's kind of like a vengeance thing. And again, like this, to the extent that our world overcomes this belief that what we do is really up to us and all, that kind of motivation would be like so much more minimized.
Yeah, because really, there has to be a reason why, first of all, why somebody would record a video and send it to somebody, but also there's got to be a reason why this person would use that video, against them and share it with people, and ruin their reputation. So there's cause for both sides of the whole thing. Yeah. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing is, I just want to mention, I think part of the reason that women are so eager to show off their bodies in this way is because society tells them that that's all they're worth, that all they are is how they look naked, and that's a real problem. I mean, that it's not like they they come ex nihilo, come up for no reason. Just think one day, oh, I'm going to send a naked picture of myself to someone. No, there's has to be a reason for that, but they're taught that they have to do that to please their boyfriend, or get attention for something. So it's really sad, and I don't blame some people doing that.
Yeah, I mean it's like attention seeking, but things like that can actually end your career or end your life. And I was watching a documentary a while gone back, and it was about these people who post naked pictures of themselves on Facebook with their balls hanging out with a little sock around it.
Mm.
And it makes me, and then suddenly, like, people's jobs, they can't, they go to a job center or a job place to get a job, to start their career off, and then they say, because we've seen you on the internet, we cannot take you because of stuff like this.
Oh yeah. So then the problem is then that keeps them from getting a job because no one will hire them because of some record of something that they did. And so yeah, this is a major problem. And it's the kind of a problem that wouldn't really have existed, like, before the modern age of the internet and things going viral.
Mm.
But now you've got all these new problems that would never have happened before then, and I think I sort of agree with what Jamie said on Twitter recently about, like, he said people under 16 shouldn't even have cell phones, but I'm like, maybe not till they're 30. Really.
Yeah.
Well, at that rate, I think you should have put it on 40,
Yeah,
to be
maybe.
honest.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
and of course, at any age, people can do stupid things, but I don't know. I mean,
But you're less likely to do stupid things when you're older and more experienced. Say, like when you're in your 30s, that's
Yeah.
when you're less. That's when you're the least likely to do stupid things.
yeah,
It's like my granddad. He's like in his 90s, and he's just started using a mobile phone for the first time. He's never used before, and I'm thinking, well, to be honest, you shouldn't even be using that because you probably all got Alzheimer's and you'll forget over and over and over.
well, anyway, I want to give some other examples of where privacy, or there might be reasons why people hide things. Because, for example, I have this friend who grew up in a Catholic family, and he's no longer Catholic. We'll just say that much. And he doesn't want his family to know that he's not Catholic because there will be trouble if they find out, you might say. So that's a fine example, of it. There are people who they're closeted atheists, or they're closeted gay people. They don't want people to know certain things about them because they'll lose their job, or they'll be disowned by their parents, or somebody will come and murder them, who hates them for whatever it might be. And so this is an example of how people are motivated by fear to avoid revealing certain things. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what's so weird about it is, and often these things are things that people would not blame them for if they understood that people don't have a free will, you know?
Actually, yeah, one of the major kind of concerns with a lot of people. There's an article in the newspaper recently about this. Even very successful people, like this stigma of mental illness. In other words, like, you can have like a physical problem with your liver or something that's physical, and it's all right if the world knows about that. But if it has to do with one's mind, then all of a sudden it's a completely different situation. And that is directly, I think, attributable to this belief in free will. If
Yeah,
we didn't have the belief in free will, you're right. People would just like, hey, this is the way I am. It's like, and I don't think there'd be a kind of shame or guilt around it. Yeah.
exactly. Because here's the deal. For one thing, this is related definitely to the belief in free will, but it's also a belief in this dualism, like that Rene Descartes came up with, like that mind and body are separate somehow. So you can be at fault for what your mind is doing, but not at fault with other parts of your body. And yet we know it's not that way. We know that, like, the brain is just like something can go wrong with it, just like any other part. So that's the thing, is that's one thing, is I have understood mental illness better since understanding that it's not like we have some immaterial mind that exists outside of our body, because how do you explain Alzheimer's? You really have a hard time explaining that. But yeah, um, so yeah, but with people, they can't, if there's something wrong with their mind, we know that that's something they didn't choose, whether it's a chemical imbalance or some kind of trauma or whatever that messed up their brain to where they may be a certain way, but people blame them for mental illness. People are blamed for being bipolar. They're blamed for ADHD and all sorts of other mental illnesses.
Autism, OCD, schizophrenia. Yep, a lot.
Yeah, and people don't get that. Like they think
Yeah.
the person chose to be
Yeah.
disabled, and they chose to be schizophrenic or whatever. you
And
know.
there's another
Or they're
problem,
choosing
Chandler.
not to
There's
work.
another
They're lazy
problem.
and all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, in other words, like, I think what we're finding today, for example, people who have autism, have much stronger focus skills than people who don't. I think various kinds of, like, quote unquote diagnoses really reflect that people are very different. And some people are like very, very aware, hyper aware, that, it's like living in a very kind of like, competitive environment might make them anxious, but that hyper awareness is actually an ability that they have that actually, kind of like is supersedes that of the regular population. So to the extent that free will belief keeps people from talking about this and keeps people, ashamed, um, or not wanting their situation to be revealed, then our understanding of these kinds of like differences in people that aren't, I don't think, in other parts of the world, these kinds of conditions are considered, let's say, special in a way. People like who have these experiences are considered mystical or shamanic and all. So again, like the free will belief not only like, causes people to look down on or be ashamed of having these things, it causes us to not be able to understand the nature of these differences.
Yeah, because what's interesting is since free will belief keeps you from looking at the causes of things, it kind of keeps you from discovering unique things about a condition somebody may have that makes them different.
So
And
it's a distraction, basically.
yeah, so rather than taking the abilities, for example, that autistic people have that can actually be a strength and using that for some benefit, instead they're like, this person's different. We must make them choose to be the same as us. Like, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. But that's what people do, you
I
know.
mean, it's like my cousin, for instance. He's autistic, and he's the most wonderful little boy to have as a cousin and stuff. He's fantastic. He's got this like his mind set on lifts. His mum always has to take him to a lift, and he knows everything about a lift. Like you could give him a code or a number of the lift, and he'll know directly what that lift is and what the name and the manufacturer and all that. And I'll tell you what, he's so smart as a little kid and stuff because I think he's about 14, 15 now. I think he's just turned, and oh yeah, he's just amazing.
Yeah, there's certain
Yeah,
kids, like there was a kid who could tell you the letter of the day and the number of the day for every episode on Sesame Street.
have you
That's
guys heard of
cool.
this guy who he lives in the UK? His name is Daniel Tammet. He's maybe about 35 now, but he memorized the number pi to about 25 or 22,000 digits, and he's also able to learn a language in a week. And again, this guy's diagnosed as mildly autistic. So like, yeah, obviously there's aspects of autism and aspects of other kinds of conditions that really are superior to the normal population.
So basically, autistic people then that they have unlocked an extra ability inside there to make them more superior and stuff, like in mind.
In some
Yeah, there's
ways.
one person. Go ahead, Chan.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. See, some people they have like an amazing ability to memorize things, like that Daniel Tammet that George was talking about, and like he said, their ability to focus on something can, while it seems like it can be a strength, because if you're focused on something, especially something important, well, then you'll just learn more about it than most people will. So I think it's definitely a benefit, and if there's
There's
advantages that certain people have, well, then we all need to make sure they're able to make the best use of that ability.
So they're determined to
yeah,
do it then. That's cool.
Yeah, in a way.
yeah, and so like as the shame is being lifted from these things, for example, Microsoft now has a program. They're not the only corporation that they're actively recruiting people with autism, because not only people with autism focus better than the normal population, they also tend to be more logical. So again, this free will belief, causing this shame that doesn't allow us to view these things completely, is really limiting the potential that we have as individuals and as a society.
Yeah, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make everybody the same, and people are not all the same, and so I think everybody suffers a little bit too much when they're all put into like the same school system and they're all treated exactly the same. When certain people are just going to be more able to do something than somebody else. It's just like my mom was made to feel bad for not being very athletic when she was in school as a kid.
All right, so you want to get back to like the major theme of like the privacy and the unfairness, that's just free will based. That people like if you've been, let's say, for example, convicted of a crime. I mean, we have a principle in the United States that you can't be convicted of the same crime twice, meaning that you shouldn't be punished twice for the same offense. But what happens with a lot of these criminals, because people are so angry at them because of this free will belief, that yeah, when they go out to get jobs, you might have that on an application. Have you ever been convicted and all this stuff? So it follows them the rest of their lives. They're not allowed to be able to ever overcome, what was ultimately not, in their, up to them to begin with.
Yeah, and part of the problem is if they can't get a job, well, then what do they do? You know, that is difficult.
Yeah, then they go on the welfare scrap heap because no one will employ them. Yeah.
But then you hear that old saying, innocent to proven guilty. And I think that stands in America as well as the UK.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
This is not just to do with that, and it's also to do with a privacy issue. You know what I mean? Because I've seen the effects this sort of thing can have on people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I don't think even we've got much privacy at all now. We've got all this Big Brother shit going around, cameras everywhere watching us, and it's kind of bullshit, really, if you think about it. I mean, I could be doing something that I could be bloody masturbating or some shit, right? And then
Oh.
I could be doing that, and I could be caught on camera, and then I go and get a job, and they say, sorry, you've been masturbating too much, you can't get a job because of that.
Oh man. Yeah, see, this is crazy, but I do believe that we don't really have privacy, not since the invention of technology like the video camera and audio recording and all that. I mean, and I'm not exactly a big privacy guy. Everyone knows that because, I mean, everything I do is public on YouTube, Facebook, pretty much. Um, but even at work, well, of course, in a grocery store they have to have cameras everywhere, so everybody's being watched. I know I'm being watched all the time. So I guess we need to figure out what place does privacy even have in our society, if it has any place at all, or is it just an illusion?
and actually, Chandler, this might be working to the advantage of people because there's so little privacy, so much stuff gets out there, and so I think society has no choice but to become much more understanding. I think a good example is like that actor Pee Wee Herman, the American actor who I think was like caught in a movie theater doing something, whatever. Anyway, that got out there, and I think now he's just gotten. People have accepted. All right, he had a problem. He's over it, whatever. And now he's got like some major movie role and all. So basically, I think the fact that people don't have as much privacy allows people to understand, hey, we're all human. We have different failings, and we can overcome them. And we shouldn't, failings shouldn't follow people the rest of their lives.
Yeah, you're right. It can actually work to our benefit because since everybody knows what's going on with everybody now, that enables us to more clearly see the causes of why they are the way they are. Because otherwise, how do you find out some of this stuff?
Yeah, it's like this video from like I think it was like 2 or more years ago. I'm not quite sure. Where this daycare center worker had his criminal history like brought up, like he was arrested for assault and battery twice. Remember me bringing this up, Chandler, in like another podcast, right? And this other guy brought up his like criminal history, despite the fact that he had reformed and not reoffended since. He had not reoffended in over 13 years. I was like, you do realise that this sort of thing can cause them to relapse, right?
Oh,
You know what I mean? So, by bringing this stuff up, I can understand why the daycare centre got angry. I mean, he wasn't okay. So assault and battery is still a serious crime, but the fact that this other guy was involved in the matter, people might get the wrong impression about him, because of the other shows that this guy's been in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, you could be assaulting someone for a reason, though. There's a reason, probably why he did it. Maybe he was doing it in self-defense or some shit.
No, he wasn't doing it in self-defense. He was doing it because a woman wouldn't have sex with him. That was his
Oh,
reason.
okay.
So he was a womanizer basically. But
Yeah,
that
but
was
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
Karen.
So that was in his past. You know what I mean? And Hansen brought it up, right? And I'm thinking, there's oh my god, I don't even know where to begin with this guy, man. I do commend him for what he did in his other shows, stopping perverts and stuff, man. But this really takes the piss what he's just done to this guy, man. He's embarrassed him in public. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
guy wasn't even convicted of any sex crimes.
Yeah.
He had a conviction, not a conviction. He had 2 arrests for assault and battery, and he reformed ever since. You know what I mean? He got a job, he paid his taxes, you know, and to bring this out in public, man, it can mess up his self-identity, can't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Jamie, that's the key.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. See, here's the thing. What it comes down to is, if somebody has done some kind of serious crime,
yeah,
and there's a lot of things people are arrested for that I don't actually think are serious crimes, like marijuana or something like that.
yeah,
But let's say they have done a serious crime. Well, here's the deal. Because there's only 3 solutions that people have. Either life in prison,
mm,
and some people are for the death penalty, which I'm not. And then, or restoring them to society, allow them to participate in some way. So it's sort of like
yeah,
what needs to be done, and I think that's a big problem that
yeah,
has to be answered once and for all.
yeah. But the thing is, with the death penalty, is it's risky to people who are being wrongly accused. I mean, goodness, how many exonerations have there been on death row, man?
Yeah, yeah. And here's the deal: is I don't like the death penalty. So many reasons, because it's sort of like what Anthony Bishop was saying. Let's suppose somebody has you on camera for doing something that they think is wrong, and then
Mhm.
they give you the death penalty because they have you on video masturbating, like what Anthony Bishop was talking. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm not
people,
talking about them sort of cases. I'm talking about serious cases. People who have been convicted of murder and stuff. First
right.
degree.
But I know people are crazy, man, and I know people would get
Yeah,
the death penalty for smoking pot or some kind of thing. Like they might have done some minor thing like stealing a loaf of bread and then get the death penalty. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that, because people are stupid. That's why I don't trust governments to decide what's kill.
yeah,
I mean, it's like you're on about this person who's battered someone and stuff, like battered
yeah,
the woman and stuff, and assaulted her for not having sex with her and stuff and that. But then there's people out there who get convicted of assaulting someone, doing GBH to them and stuff, and they haven't done anything to them, but they get convicted anyway. I mean,
yeah.
where does that stop? Where's the line where you shouldn't cross on that?
No, but I'm just saying, because this guy had not reoffended in a long amount of time, you know, it basically means, this guy is not likely to reoffend because, he's gone this many years without committing another crime, and
Yeah,
he's kept his end of a bargain, and he's gone straight. You know what I mean? He's reformed. He's rehabilitated. And
Yeah,
yeah.
For Chris Hansen to do this to him was disgusting. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
Yeah.
and
I don't quite. And there's another about his catch a predator thing. I don't quite agree with that 16 is underage because in our country that's legal. You know what I mean? But that's just that's just an opinion. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get into that. But what he did to this other guy, man, is just dead wrong. You know what I mean? He invaded his privacy, and I can understand why he got angry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's the deal, guys. I mean, I want to bring it back since we're actually almost at our 3 minutes. I kind of want to bring it back to the whole thing that, at a certain level, people need to be forgiven for their past
Yeah,
offenses. If they're not showing a threat of reoffending of
yeah,
something serious, then there needs to be a forgiveness. There needs to be another chance for them, um, rather than just because what I don't get is people, even they people claim that, oh, this person must we can't trust them because they'll reoffend, which is kind of
Mhm.
funny because then they say they believe in free will and that people can choose anything at any time, which means that everybody under a free will paradigm would be equally likely to do any crime because they can randomly choose or something crazy.
I understand where you're coming from completely, man. I mean, it needs to be forgiveness. I mean, if you hold bitterness for your whole life, where does it get you? You know what I mean?
I mean, anyone's capable of doing something, aren't they? Really, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve to kill someone
Right.
and watch videos to kill them and that.
Yeah, I
But
know.
it doesn't mean you're going to kill that person.
Mm.
It's just basically who you are and what your potential schemes are.
Right. Well, I
No,
think
it depends on your mindset. It's all
well,
about mindset, and
yeah.
because
Yeah.
you know, if someone spiked your drink, right, and then you went around mass murdering people because of the drug that they put in your drink
Yeah,
caused
you're
you
not
to go
really
psycho.
doing it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not really you. It's the chemical.
Reacting and stuff.
Yeah, what is it, George? I mean, you brought this up on the Manhattan show, didn't you?
No, absolutely, guys. We are out of time, though. I think so, Chandler. I think
Yeah.
because maybe we can.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up and then we might continue it in a future one. Yeah, okay, well, you've been listening to Free Will, Science, and Religion with Chandler Klebs, Jamie Soden, Anthony Bishop, and George Ortega. And we've been talking about a whole bunch of different stuff, but it's getting kind of long, so we'll have to continue talking about this more in the future. So we'll end this one for now. Bye.